Here are 4 lubes and 4 gang cubes, so let's test them out. I'm going to start with Perez. This is a viscous lube which works best to slow down cubes and make them all round more stable. I decided to use this on my GAN 13 as it was quite fast and I felt that I needed to have more control over this cube. After just a small amount, I could already feel a big difference. Not only did it enhance the turning of my cube, it also reduced the loud turning sounds that come with a GAN 13. I have very little to criticise about this lube, but there are some small things that could be changed. I'll get onto that later. For now, let's go through my favourite features. This lube is remarkably cheap compared to its competitors, and on top of that, you get a 30ml bottle, which is great. There are so many lubes where you only get 5mm for the same price, and those don't last as long. Also, I really like how much of a difference it makes inside of the cube, despite only having to use a couple of drops. After just 3 drops, I could feel such an improvement in the stability of the 13, which is great. And on top of this, it is really easy to place into the cube, which is what you expect from any lube, but I have certainly seen lubricants which are difficult to apply. Luckily, that just isn't the case with this one. So now onto the negatives. This is more of a design flaw, and that is that the text is very hard to read due to it being a clear bottle. On top of that, the writing is in a different language, which I can't complain too much about, but it would be nice if it also had an English translation. There is also some sort of bird on this bottle, however, like I mentioned, it is very hard to see. All round, this is a very good lubricant, and I have very little negative points. Any that I do have only concern the layout of the bottle, which isn't too much of an issue. I think that now would be a great time to say that I've been sent all of these lubes for free by speedcubing.org. However, they have given me no guidance or requirements on what to say during this video, so I'm going to give my genuine and honest thoughts on each of these. Next, we have Perez Light. This is very similar to the previous one, however, it has a lower viscosity and is designed to give a faster feeling to the cube. I decided to use this on one of my GAN 12s as it was getting slow due to me not using it in a while. The overall performance of the lubricant was very good, and it managed to make the turning on my cube much faster and more effortless. This could be compared to Weight 1 as it is fast but it is still silicone based. Personally, I think this beats Weight 1. Also, I feel as though it had a much more instant response to the cube when first applied and required less turning to break it into all of the pieces. I think that Perez Light managed to evenly cover every part of the cube after just a little bit of turning and a couple of solves. Once again, the only critiques I have for this lubricant is that it is quite hard to read and it would be nice if it had an English translation. But apart from that, this is a great, fast lubricant to revive those old cubes, but also make those new ones smoother and much more effortless to turn. Now we move on to Lubos Rapid. This is a water-based lubricant, and what I really like about this is that it doesn't just make your cube fast, it also adds a smooth and silky feeling to your cube. According to the description, this is due to it having more of a gel texture compared to most water-based lubricants being very runny and not at all viscous. I really like how this has changed the market as it has managed to mix a fast lube with a smooth one to get the perfect feeling. Before this, if I wanted this feeling, I would have to combine 2 different lubes such as D&M 37, which is very watery, and Cubicle Silk, which gives a softer feeling. Obviously, this is annoying as you would have to pay for 2 separate bottles, but now you only need to buy one to get all round great turning. This gel-like texture also means that this lube will last longer inside of your cube compared to any other water-based lubes. I decided to add this to my GAN 11M Pro, as much like the 12, I hadn't used this in a while, meaning that it had got rather slow and not very easy to turn. I found instant results with this lube, with a fast turning experience and also a reduction in the sound of the cube. Some of the other less important things that I like about this lube is that the text is legible, and personally I really like the blue colour. Of course it has no effect once inside of the cube, but the bottle does look really nice. One small drawback of this lubricant is that there are no instructions on the bottle, it only has branding. This is slightly annoying as it doesn't inform you about the recommended amount that needs to be applied. However, I think this is very intuitive anyway and doesn't really require that much instructions. Just make sure to start with a small amount as it is much easier to add more than it is to take it away. And with one more lubricant to go, I'd like to thank speedcubing.org for sending these to me. And so if you'd like to buy any of these, then make sure to check out their website, especially considering that these are mostly sold in Europe and are quite hard to get here in the UK. And finally, we have Lubos Drive. This is also a fast lube, but this one is silicone based, which means it isn't as fast as Lubos Rapid. I think a great comparison is that it's similar to Perez Lite from earlier. I decided to use this in one of my other GAN 12s, as it is also getting rather slow. And much like the previous lubes, this one managed to speed up my cube with very little being used. This lubricant also fixes all the problems I mentioned on the other bottles, as now I can read all of the text and there are clear instructions on how to apply the lubricant into your cube, which is amazing. There are just two very small things that I don't like about this one, which is that the nozzle is much larger than the others, meaning it is harder to put inside of the cube and accurately apply. However, this is very minor. The other issue I have is that I don't like the branding. It doesn't pop as much as Lubos Rapid, but these are only small and don't really make that much of a difference. My favourite out of these probably has to be Lubos Rapid, as it isn't like anything else I have ever tried before, but all of these will be my go-to from now on.